Welcome back to the Realistic Nutrition Podcast. I'm so excited to bring you today's episode because I have Don Lam from DIY Body, and we go into why you're not reaching your health and fitness goals, why you're not reaching your nutrition goals. And Don drops serious knowledge about flexible dieting, how no foods are off limits. And at the end, well, if you're watching this on video, like you'll see I'm super animated because I get really excited about food, especially desserts and treats. And we go back and forth sharing treats. And he brought some stuff like knowledge to my mind about like what we should be doing to make things more like ice cream. And he was sharing so much good stuff. But before I go and drop into this podcast, I just want you to know that Don has offered to give you guys a free guide on how to burn fat effortlessly without starving yourself. And to get it, just go to Instagram at DIY Body and send him a message, and he will be happy to send you this guide. I'll drop his Instagram in the show notes along with everything else that we talk about here in the episode. All right, so let's get to it. Welcome to the podcast, Don.
Thank you for having me. It's a little bit of a whirlwind to get to this point. So like for your listeners, this is literally like the third meeting that we've scheduled because the first meeting I totally forgot after getting COVID, and I lost track of what day it was. And Randa messaged me on Facebook, and she's like, "Did you forget about a meeting?" And I woke up from a nap, and I'm like, "It's only Wednesday, it's not." And she's like, "It's Thursday." I'm like, "Oh my god, I feel so bad." And then we rescheduled for the following day. I think it was Friday.
Yeah.
And I woke up on Friday and I was like, I can't talk today.
Yeah.
I lost my voice. So here we are. It's Wednesday today, and I'm super stoked to be on here. Thanks for having
it's take
me.
3.
Yeah, well, third time's the charm.
Yeah. And Don's here to talk about why you're not getting results. Don is a pro, as I mentioned in the intro, he is the founder of DIY Body. He's been around for a really long time. I've actually known Don most of my life. We're from the same hometown. He actually only lives an hour away, close-knit community there. And he is someone that you absolutely can trust with your health and nutrition. I've had multiple friends go through his program, strangers, and his social proof, his before and afters, everything, him and his team, they drive the results home. So Don, I'm really excited you're here. Why don't we, to get started, before we start diving into, why, these people are going on over and over, doing the same thing over and over, not getting results. Let's learn a little bit more about you. What's your story? How did you come to found this incredible health and fitness company?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I initially got into working out after graduating high school. In high school, we had some sports in our small town, as you know. I enjoyed playing basketball.
We had basketball and hockey. That was it.
Basketball and hockey, but it was tough to even get any kind of team sport going on in our high school, just because the size of our community and just not enough hands to go around. So after high school, I needed to find something to spend my time after school. Being in university, just wanted to find a way to continue to stay active, but obviously I wasn't going to be on the university basketball team. So my cousins worked out, and I found it super inspiring to kind of see their transformation with what they were able to do just in 1 year of going to the gym. And, I always kind of looked up to my cousins and what they did. So I took up working out, and it was also something that I found a lot of my friends doing. So it was an activity that all of us could do together. So we would go to the gym pretty much every single day while I was in university. And I started working out in 2008. And it's been about, I think, 13 or 14 years. I kind of lost track. But it was just something that I never stopped doing after I got into it, just because I stayed really consistent with it. And even after a couple of weeks, I would start to notice things changing with my physique. And even at that time, I wasn't eating the greatest, but I was just solely focused on getting stronger and pushing myself in the gym, and I would see changes happening. So that was super motivating for me, and it kept me going. And ever since then, I've competed 6 times. I've competed in men's physique. I started coaching people on the side because the way that I would prep for my shows is a little bit. Um, when I initially started competing in 2014, it was a little bit different than the traditional way that people were prepping for shows. So at that time, meal plans were really big. People would kind of stick to the same 5 to 8 foods,
Rice,
broccoli,
chicken,
chicken, rice,
broccoli.
fish. And the way that I would do it is I would actually track my food. So um, that's kind of like the way that I got into this space is I prep for shows using my own methods. And at the time, I was following guys like Lane Norton, and they were all about tracking your food, not having certain restrictions towards specific foods or food groups. And before that, like I tried all the fad diets out there. I tried paleo, I tried cutting out all my carbs, I tried keto, I tried like a variety of different diets, and then I would even try and combine a whole bunch. And at the end of the day, I was still kind of just relying on certain information in the space that kind of contradicts each other. Like carbs are bad for you, carbs make you fat. And once I kind of stumbled upon a lot of like Lane's research, I learned how to track my food, and I would put together my own meal plans. And I wouldn't I wouldn't really demonize certain foods like carbohydrates, or if something had sugar, I wouldn't like exit out. I would just find a way to make things fit. So I would prep for my shows utilizing what we call flexible dieting, and I would still be able to get in amazing shape with it. So once I kind of went through it myself, I would start talking about it a lot more. And some people caught wind of the way that I was doing it, and they wanted to also give it a shot. So I started prepping competitors utilizing the flexible dieting method, and people were still getting amazing results. And like, if you can get in great shape for the stage utilizing flexible dieting, it's like, why wouldn't we use it for like everyday lifestyle? So at that point, I was just still coaching people on the side. And eventually in 2017, I was like, kind of just didn't enjoy waking up without that passion of like going to work and not really loving what I was doing. And at the time I was working in corporate HR, and I did it for 4 years because that's what I graduated in university with. And I was like, I pay all this money to go to university, get this degree, I better carry it out. And I just was kind of tired of it one day, and I was like, I'm just gonna give this thing a shot. I'm gonna give coaching a shot. At the time, I only knew like one other person that was like doing it full time, and I was like, I'm gonna give this thing a shot because I was already doing it on the side. If it works out, this is amazing. If it doesn't work out, I can always go back and find another job in HR. That's how I was looking at it, because I didn't have a lot of like responsibilities or like debt holding me back. And I'm like, I'm gonna give this thing a shot and see how it goes. So as soon as I quit my job and I announced that I'm like, hey, I'm full-time online coaching, I started picking up clients. And I guess I would call it like, I would call myself a little bit lucky at that point, because I know a lot of online coaches, they come into the space and they struggle very like for many, many years. But I think also kind of being around the gyms in Kamloops for like 10 years prior to that, and building all those relationships with people and prepping for all those shows, I kind of did a lot of like that front end work to get me to that point where it gave me some kind of authority in the community. And I built the trust with other people in the community where they felt like they could come to me and I could actually help them out where they were struggling with.
Mhm.
And then since that point, 2017 to where we're at now, we have 7 other coaches on the team. So myself included would be 8 coaches. We have over 400 people that are currently in our program at the moment. We've
Ooh,
coached probably
that's awesome.
2,000 people over the past 4 years here. So yeah, overall it's been a quick and short journey, but I feel like we're just barely getting started.
Mm-hmm. And I remember your transformation because, like, I've always known you. And I remember Carter was my son, was baby, and I took him to the lake one day, and I was there with my friends. And it was the first time I've seen you in a few years. And I looked over, you said hi. I was like, oh, hey, and whatever. And I looked over at my friends after me. Holy shit, Donnie Lamb got jacked. They're like, I know.
That's
And
so
actually, I think that
funny.
was the last time I saw you. But yeah, I remember we were at Irrigation Lake and we ran into you there. And back
That
in my journey, back like I was super disordered back then. But I remember, I'd started like I used to follow the really toxic Instagram things. But one
mm,
day I saw a hashtag IIFYM, and I was like, oh, what's that? And I looked into it, I'm like, no, like that's not for me right now. And then I
yeah,
started seeing you post it, and then that you were prepping, and I was like, oh yeah,
yeah.
cool. And then you started posting your food. I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't chicken and broccoli. Like you had like this protein yogurt with like gummy bears and candy. And I'm like, oh, okay. And you were like one of the people that I personally knew that first started doing it. And then following
Mhm,
your journey along all this way, it's really impressive. And like, I mean, like I
mhm.
said before, you've coached many of my friends. I remember before you had the business, you coached people I knew. And to see this, like the success you've had is incredible. So obviously you are legit, you know what you're talking about. So let's get into why people are not seeing results. They're coming to you, they're saying, I have tried everything, I've tried every diet, I'm eating this many calories. Like, what's the first thing you say to them?
The first thing that I would say to them is like I would have to honestly take a closer look and see exactly what they're actually doing, because sometimes what people say that they're doing isn't actually what they're doing. They're two totally separate things. So, a lot of people, they might have tried something, but they might not have given it enough time to actually let it do its thing. Like, if I'm being completely honest, all diets work. It's just the one that you stick to is the one that actually works the best. Like, if you do keto and you do it right, you should lose weight if calories are, in a deficit. Um, Carnivore, same thing. If you're in a deficit and you wanted to lose weight, you just have to make sure that your calories are in an actual deficit. But for someone to say something like doesn't work, it's probably because they're half-assing it, you know?
Yeah.
So once somebody comes to us, what we always do is we kind of take we do a little bit of an assessment. We ask like, hey, what does a full day of eating look like for you? And then based off their full day of eating, we can kind of see, you know, how many calories is this person actually taking in? What type of macronutrients are they consuming based off the foods that they're eating? How often are they eating out? What are they eating when they're eating out? And then you can kind of put together a little bit of an idea in your head on, how many calories is this person actually consuming? And based on their current physique and their stats, like, where do you, like, based on your experience of working with people, where would this person kind of maintenance level be at?
Yeah.
And if their goal was to lose weight, are they actually eating in a calorie deficit, or are they kind of just maintaining? So that's the first thing I would do, is you just have to take a closer look and see exactly what they're doing. But as soon as you set somebody up with a plan that is in line with their goals, and they're consistently following it for a period of time, that's where you can start to make the adjustments in their program based off their progress to get them closer and closer to the goal. But they're like even anybody coming to us, we can't just look at them and automatically say like this is the magic plan.
Yeah.
The magic comes when you're consistently putting in the work and you're adhering to your plan, and then over time you're making like those small adjustments. So I would also say, like, when someone comes to you and they want to lose, like, let's say that they have like 50 pounds to lose and they want to lose it like in 8 weeks, that is not sustainable. And what we do here is we want to make sure like we're giving people like lifelong tools and we're doing it in a sustainable way, because one of my missions is I've seen what the industry has done in the past, and I've seen people do diets just for the sake of losing that weight, and then once they're done losing that weight they just bounce back to what they've done in the past. And that's not what we wanted to bring in the space. We wanted to actually help people lose that weight, give them the tools so that they can manage it for the rest of their life. Like, if depending on what their goal is now, is it to continue losing more weight? Is it to now reverse diet? Is it now to, focus on performance and strength? But whatever it is, just making sure that they're set up for the rest of their life by actually learning how it works, by understanding how it works, and yeah, just continuing to educate them along the way.
So you would say the first reason why people aren't being successful with their goals is they might have chosen something that's not sustainable for them.
100%. I think you nailed it right on the head. There's a lot of people, they'll see like the fad diets pop up every once in a while and it changes all the time. I actually try to like block that all out. I have not changed the type of dieting or the method that we've used ever since we started DIY. But I know that there might be other coaches out there, they'll see a hot, trendy fad diet out there. A couple years ago, it was carnivore, and then it switched to vegan. I don't know. What is it now? Have you been keeping up with it?
Keto's big. And when you talk about trying keto in the past, I think, because I remember like back in 2013, I started seeing that all over Instagram, and that was before it was trendy. And
Yeah.
I hate it. Let's just be, like, people who are listening know I hate keto.
Yeah.
But like, it just seems people that love it will die on that hill. And hey, if they don't love bread as much as I do or anything like that,
Yeah.
pasta, pizza, all the power to them. But if someone's listening and they're like, oh, I love all that food, it's not for you.
100%. Like, who doesn't like fruit? Who
right?
doesn't? And it's like not even the fact that you might not like it, but your friends probably like it, your family probably likes it. So you're going to be surrounded by these types of foods probably for the rest of your life. So when you're in social settings and people are offering you food, are you supposed to say, hey, I'm on a keto diet, like I can't have fruit, I can't have rice, I can't have bread, I can't have pasta? I think the majority of the population actually enjoys eating carbohydrates. So, it's not like you, if you don't like it, that's fine, but you can find ways to still enjoy those foods in moderation.
Yeah.
You don't have to completely cut it out. And then the same thing goes with people that are, maybe they're vegan, and maybe they're not even vegan for those ethical reasons. They're just vegan because they watch the Netflix.
Yeah, they watched the Netflix documentary. Yeah.
Eating meat is like smoking a pack of cigarettes, and they're choosing not to eat meat based off some of those claims that they've seen. But it's like, hey, you don't have to eat a crazy amount of meat. If you just want to eat slightly less meat, just eat slightly less meat. And you don't have to just eat meat. You can also have vegetables. All these diets, they contradict each other. And that's what I found, which was the most annoying thing. It's like, why don't we just consume the foods we actually enjoy and then have this still work? Because when you focus on the actual principles of weight loss and building muscle, which is calories in versus calories out, and then making sure you're consuming enough protein, you're going to see the results despite what type of foods you're mainly consuming or not consuming.
Yeah. No, for sure. I got a DM yesterday. Actually, okay, so this week I had a client telling me that they were told not to eat nuts because they were bad. And then I had a message about it on my Instagram yesterday. So I did a story and I was like, what is this? Is there a new diet trend going on that I am not aware of? And someone sent me a podcast episode that I listened to this morning. And this guy is saying it causes acne. And he's talking about his own personal experience.
Right.
this buddy was eating 2 pounds, not at a time, but like
Oh,
he'd go through two
crazy.
pounds of almonds like in a week, it made it
Yeah,
sound like. And I was like, and the key, what you said is moderation.
yeah,
Everything is welcome in moderation. And that's something that I agree with Lane Norton. Like he's taught me those kind of things too, that, okay, like it says, you didn't cheat on your diet. Food is not moral. There is no good or bad
Mhm.
food. There's certain ingredients that will help you maybe serve your body better. But if you want to go have a
Yes.
donut, go have a donut with your kids.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second because I feel like, you know, somebody telling you not to eat a certain food doesn't make sense because it might not work for that person, but you could be perfectly fine consuming it. And if you enjoy consuming it and you digest it properly and you don't see any like negative side effects of eating that food, then you're totally fine. And also, I want to talk about flexible dieting because it also gets a bad rap in the industry because um, people have this idea that, okay, because now you can consume whatever foods you want, you're only going to be eating things like Pop Tarts and donuts and
Pop-Tart
pizza and
diet.
ice cream.
Yeah.
And sure, you're going to see some of those foods consumed, but that's not how flexible dieting works because flexible dieting is just it's just a system where there are no restrictions on certain foods or food groups, but the same principles apply. Like you're still tracking your food, you're still tracking your macronutrients. So the reason why you want to track your macronutrients is to figure out how many of those macronutrients you're consuming on a period of time or like a daily basis is how we usually do it.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure you're getting enough protein in your diet. How many carbs are you consuming? How many fats are you consuming? So carbs are like, very important for any kind of like performance sport. Your body is probably going to perform optimally if you have carbs in your system. And then with fats, you want to be consuming a healthy amount of fats for like healthy hormone production, right? If you want to have good hair, skin, and nails, like you want to be making sure you're consuming a healthy amount of fat in your diet. But I think people that are big on fad diets or meal plans, they talk shit about tracking your food and flexible dieting, and they just say, well, it's just an excuse for people to fit junk food in their diet. That's not true. It's just a way that you can, keep track of the macronutrients that you're consuming on a day-to-day basis. And then that way, it's very clear, how many calories you're taking in, how many grams of protein you're taking, your carbs and your fats. And then with that data, over time, you can make those adjustments that you need to. So
Mhm.
if you're not losing fat based on this amount of calories, you can take some calories away from your carbohydrates, and you're still able to fit in the foods you enjoy because now you have the actual macronutrient and calorie data to make better, more informed decisions. And that's better than having a meal plan and just being like, well, fruit's bad for you, so I'm going to eliminate all fruits. Any food with sugar is bad for you. I can't have sugar in my diet, so I'm completely eliminate it from my diet.
Yeah.
And now you're going through your dieting journey, just eliminating so many foods you enjoy. And then once you get to your goal weight, your goal physique, you don't know how to manage it because you literally cut out everything because you were told that it's not good for you, it's bad for you, it makes you fat. And then now you're like, what do I do? And that's where a lot of the problems arise. And people struggle with like body dysmorphia or disordered eating because they get themselves to the point where they're telling themselves these things that aren't actually true. And I
Mhm.
think if they just focus on the actual principles of tracking your food and learning more about what kind of nutrients are in their food and how many nutrients are in their food, then they'll have a more of a systematic way to look at nutrition.
So I'd say like another point you brought up is, why you're not reaching your goals would be restriction.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, myself included in the past, I would deprive, binge, then cut back
Yeah.
even more to make up for it, deprive, deprive. And it was this horrible cycle.
Yeah.
So restriction is one, not being able to be present in social functions be
Yeah.
another. I'm sure there's a lot of people, like again, myself included, back in the day, I would decline a social invite because I knew it wouldn't go along with my quote unquote lifestyle at the time. You know, it was a lifestyle. So you're missing out on a lot of joy of fun. And then because of restriction, you're not consistent. And like consistency, they say it's key for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, to be consistent with something, like, you kind of have to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Now, depending on how big your goal is, like if you're prepping for a bodybuilding show, or if you just want to lose weight to look good and feel good, those are kind of two different things. Like, I can understand that if you're prepping for a bodybuilding show, things are a lot more strict. Like, you know, you can still go out to social settings, but like your food has to be pretty controlled, because hey, the goal there is to win the show, and to bring your best physique. Like, you got to make sure you're on point, and you can't like leave it up to chance for the restaurant to, cook the food however they feel like. Because if I'm being honest with you guys, restaurants don't give a shit whether or not you want six-pack abs, you want to look good, you want to be in a magazine, you want to look good for your photo shoot. They don't care about that. All they care about is making sure your food tastes good and that you're happy about your food, because they want you to come back because you enjoy the food. So that's a big reason why we love teaching people flexible dieting, because we understand most people aren't prepping for bodybuilding shows. They're prepping just to lose weight, to look good for life. And a big part of that is actually, being in social settings with their family, going out to a restaurant to enjoy a meal. I know, like, that's a pretty common thing amongst most families. Like, not everybody is going to cook every single meal at home. There's going to be a lot of times for busy families, if you're on the go, if you're like on the road, where you're going to be eating out. And I want to make sure my clients are equipped with those tools so that they can make good decisions when they have to go to a restaurant and order a meal. Like, what can I order that is going to fit within my nutrition goals and I can enjoy it like guilt free? I'm not gonna like tell them, hey, just order like burger and fries and pizza and like eat whatever you want, because like that's not healthy either. But I'm making sure they fully understand, like, based on what you want to eat, like this is what the intake looks like. So if you want to have it, it's fine, but then you're gonna have to adjust the rest of your day based on this decision that you're making, eating at the restaurant and eating that meal.
But like that's what's nice about it is if you are going to go have a burger, you can make it fit every once in a while, just adjust the rest of your day. I really do appreciate that flexible dieting, macros, whatever you want to call it. It really doesn't take a food off limit. You just have to be mindful of it, mindful of your goals. And if you really want it, since following it myself, I found that like I'll have fries, and if I don't like them, I'll be like, you know what? This isn't worth it. Like I find myself not even wanting them, where before it would have been on my plate. It's like, well, I gotta finish it because I'm never gonna have this opportunity again.
You nailed it. Like, when you restrict those things completely, we want the things that we can't have. So when you're presented an opportunity after not consuming it for so long, then it's all you can think about. But I think when you have the flexibility to be like, I can eat it if I want, and if I don't want it, that's okay. And I think a lot of people, they just get enjoyment from the first bite, or just a couple of fries, and after that they get their fix and they're done. But rather than completely being like, you can't eat any food out that you don't cook at home that's not boiled, too bad. That's really like tying people's hands, and not leaving them in a better place than when they came to you. Like, a lot of people that come to you, they're struggling for a reason. They struggled for years on their own trying to figure it out. So I think it's our responsibility as coaches to actually provide them the knowledge and the tools so that they don't have to struggle any longer. Like, they get that nutritional freedom that they've always needed.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, we covered some good points. So obviously, people are not getting the results they want because of sustainability, consistency, restriction.
Mhm.
You know, tracking is a huge one, and I know that gets a lot of bad things being said about. I don't want to say bad press
Yeah.
because people always
Yeah.
assume, oh, you're just living your life on the tracker.
Yeah.
Most people, I don't know about you, but my clients, they weren't eating enough. They need to track to make sure they're getting enough and to hit that
Yeah.
protein mark. That's so important.
100%. Okay, let's talk. Like, I want to
Okay.
talk about this
Yeah.
because it's another hot topic in the space right now, and it's about, oh, tracking is so stressful. I don't like, I get obsessed about numbers. I hear these things all the time. And what I tell people is, okay, the reason why you're tracking is so that you can have a really good understanding of what a healthy full day of eating looks like.
Mhm.
You don't have to track for the rest of your life,
Yeah.
but you have to learn what a healthy full day of eating looks like, or you're not going to know. So, how do you know you're getting enough protein if you're not tracking it?
Mhm.
It's very difficult. Like, unless you know exactly what 100 grams of chicken breast looks like, and if you know exactly how many grams of protein is in certain types of foods, you're not going to know. And the reason why you use an app is it makes it a lot easier for you. It does all the hard work for you. All you're doing is putting down, I'm eating this food and I'm eating this amount of food,
Yeah.
right? And once you do it over time, you start to build that knowledge. Like, now you've been weighing 100 grams of chicken breast for so long. Now you can eyeball 100 grams of chicken breast. And then now you've inputted it so many times, you know, in 100 grams of chicken breast, there's about 30 grams of protein. And you
Mhm.
do the same thing with all the foods that you're consuming. And over time, you're building like this database inside of your head. And you do, like, I recommend doing it when you're very, very focused on reaching a specific goal. Like, if I'm prepping for a show, I'm not leaving anything up to chance. I'm tracking all my food, I'm weighing all my food, because the goal for me is to make sure that I win that show. And I'm going to give myself the best chance of winning that show by not being off by 5%, 10%.
Yeah.
If I'm eyeballing and just guesstimating what I'm eating throughout the day, I could potentially not be in a calorie deficit for me to lose enough body fat to get lean enough for that show. And you don't have to track for the rest of your life. Like, I know a lot of people are big on intuitive eating. How can you be intuitive with your eating if you've never tracked your food before? You have no experience of knowing what it feels like to be in a calorie deficit, how much food it takes for you to be in a calorie deficit, what types of foods you need to be eating in combination to keep you in a calorie deficit. You don't know these things if you haven't ever tracked your food before.
Mhm.
You know, like, once you've tracked your food for long enough, then you can graduate and you can go into intuitive eating. But you can't get to that place before if you actually haven't done the work
Yeah.
required for you to have the understanding of how nutrition actually works when you're focused on losing weight or building muscle.
And
So,
these apps make it easy. I mean, like I haven't done anything with
so
mine, but all I
easy.
have to do is swipe add because I have like the same breakfast every day. They're done.
Exactly. And I think people haven't fully given tracking a shot. And, you know, they might try it out for 5 minutes or one day and they're like, this is difficult. It's probably because you haven't properly learned how to track your food. And when we get clients come into our program, we actually tell them, hey, for the first couple of weeks, we don't want you actually tracking any food. We just want you to follow, a meal plan that we've put together for you so that you can focus on execution. You can focus on um, just how does it feel to consume this much protein, probably more than you're used to.
Yeah.
How does it feel to consume this amount of food? And once they have gotten the routine of eating consistently, that's where we introduce how to track your food,
Mm,
because it can be overwhelming if you're trying to do so many of these things at once. That's why we like doing things in baby steps.
yeah.
And once we teach them how to track their food, we're very specific with the way that we do it. So I'll give you guys like one example. When we get our clients to track their food, we actually have built in our own DIY body foods into MyFitnessPal. And I don't know if your clients, like, I don't know if you've set this up for your clients, but this is an idea for you too.
Okay.
On myfitnesspal.com, you can go in there and let's just say, because if you tell your client to track 100 grams of chicken breast, they will literally just go in there, they'll type in chicken breast
Yeah.
and they'll pick number one. And the thing with that is that item could potentially have a way different protein count than what you have your chicken breast calculated as.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing with working with a client is you need to be on the same page. Like, you need to have that consistency. So we didn't want that to happen because I've seen it so many times before. So we've went in there, we've added in like 100 of the most common foods that most people would consume when they're doing a program, and we've all labeled them DIY body. So now when a client goes in, they type in DIY body and then the food name like chicken breast, they'll find the DIY body entry, they'll click it, and then they'll type in the amount they're eating. So like 100 or 150, and everything is in cooked weight because
Okay.
we
That was
know
my next question.
for meats, it's like very disgusting to weigh your meat raw. And the most, like, for everybody, it's like very easy just to weigh your meat when it's already in cooked state. So instead of trying to do like this mathematical equation in your head between raw and cooked, we figured out, what do the macronutrients come out based on the raw weight to the cooked weight. We've done all that math for them. And then now all they have to do is literally weigh their food out, type the food into MyFitnessPal, find the DIY body entry, put the amount in, and boom, it's tracked.
That's brilliant, because so many of us, we will cook our chicken or ground turkey or whatever ahead of time for the week.
Yeah.
We throw it in our salads, throw it in our dinner, and to have to, like, yeah, I see it in the groups. It's like, oh yeah, you weigh it raw, then you cook it, and then you weigh it again, and it's just
that's
busy
very
moms aren't
time
going to do
consuming.
that.
100%. That's way too time consuming. And like, we just try to make it as easy as possible for people to not only learn, but like make your life easy, because who likes to do that? Who likes to weigh it 2 or 3 different times to figure out the calculation? Like, let's just find one that works and stick to it.
No, that's brilliant. I love that idea. I've added my own recipes before, like as a blogger, but I've never done it as like in the nutrition sense. And that's just, it's brilliant.
It's a game changer.
That's a game changer. That's great. It's so funny, like, not the rules of food, but just the way things have shifted. And like I mentioned before, back when, like, it was so disordered for me on how I used to see food as good or bad, whatever. And even at the beginning of me going to school, like, I've been in the nutrition profession for 2 years now. And it really wasn't until this year, doing more research, maybe it's just because I had more time because Vivian's older, to really understand that, like, this is the way to go. Like, this gives you true food freedom.
Yeah.
And no foods are truly off limits. And to have that mindset, it opens so many doors. And like myself, since November, even, because I was like, oh, because I've been eating maintenance or surplus for the last year, not by choice, just stress eating, it wasn't until November I was like, okay, let's get in a deficit. And then I followed those principles, and then boom, 10 pounds gone. Like, it works. And even my back, and I'm thankful I went into maintenance and surplus, because I took a photo of my back, and you see the muscle that I at least built.
Yeah.
And like, there's nothing wrong with maintenance. And I think everyone always has a goal of the deficit, but macros help in all sorts. That protein, it's the protein that's the game changer, in my opinion, because it keeps you full. I could eat the same amount of calories and keep going, but I'm adding that protein. And like, I have clients, and I'm sure you get this, I'm so full, I don't know if I can eat anymore.
Yeah. Protein is one of those things that like, most women struggle to get enough protein in their day to build muscle. And the reason why a lot of other people will struggle with it too is that when you're not consuming enough protein in your day, then that can cause you to feel hungrier. So protein actually suppresses your appetite. So if you have a serving of protein with each of your meals, you're generally going to feel fuller. Like, think about this. You can sit on the couch, you can eat an entire bag of chips. That will be like 1,000 to 2,000 calories, and you could still be like, I'm still hungry. but you could
Mhm.
sit and eat like a 10-ounce steak and you can feel full,
Yeah.
right? And the steak has maybe 400 calories. So there's a huge difference in calories, but the type of food you're eating makes a big difference on satiety levels as well.
Okay. Let's like before we wrap up, since we're talking about protein and it is important, let's just give people like some quick maybe snack ideas for protein because I get this all the time. I'll
Yeah.
start. So something I do is I will take Greek yogurt. I will microwave
I was
some.
gonna say this one.
I'm a big Greek yogurt fan, but like
Yeah.
I'll chop up some apples, microwave it with some cinnamon, throw it
Yeah.
in Greek yogurt, maybe add honey, maybe not, depends how I feel. And sometimes even the powdered peanut butter just to give it a little bit more of a boost. Like so filling, so good.
Yeah. The Greek yogurt is so clutch. It's something that I've probably eaten over the last decade. We call it like protein yogurt
Yeah.
because you can top it with, or we like a lot of people eat it for like their nightcap. They'll add protein powder into their Greek yogurt. Maybe they'll add in like frozen berries, and like that combination, so high in protein,
Yeah.
helps you kind of even get to bed. And it's like that ice cream at night feel. So that's really good.
Oh,
I like that one.
so I
Um,
made,
another another quick snack for you guys that I could think about. And I'm always trying to think of like higher protein snacks. You could do like a right, like we call it pimp your rice cakes. So you can
okay.
buy like the plain rice cakes, and then you can add in Greek yogurt on top. So you could flavor your Greek yogurt with some protein powder, pick whatever flavor you want, whether it's chocolate, vanilla, or any other fancy flavor. Just mix it up. You could even add a little bit of Jello. I would recommend, I think, the white chocolate sugar-free Jello, and it gives a little bit more thickness to it. You mix it up, and then you top the rice cakes with this Greek yogurt um, frosting, I guess. And then you can add in whatever else toppings you want. Maybe it's some chocolate chips, or if you want to add on some fruit, if you want to add on some cereal, if you want to add a little bit of sprinkles to it. It's like a super fun way, but it's like also a great pre-workout snack because you get some carbs, you get a little bit of protein. It's not heavy, it's nice and light, and it's quick. And like you probably have all those ingredients at home anyways, and it's super cheap to do. So it's like you want something a little fun, high protein, good amount of carbs for a pre-workout snack. Do like a pimp my rice cake.
I do a protein donut and the frosting is Greek yogurt and a sugar-free pudding and it's good. I
Yeah.
need like diet colors to make it fun.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, I make like a protein soft serve at night. Not all the time, but sometimes.
Yeah.
And it will
It's
be,
the protein frosty.
yeah, maybe it's the same thing. So it's just like, I do a scoop and a half of my chocolate protein powder. I have like the hot chocolate flavor from Bomar. That one's really good. And
Yeah.
then I do an extra tablespoon or two of cocoa powder with just ice.
Do you add xanthan gum?
Yeah, I don't because I never have any. But so it's, you could throw it in the freezer to thicken it up, but I'm like, I'll just a little less ice. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
so similar thing. Okay,
Throw a
cool.
little bit of xanthan gum, and the key to that also is you need like one of those food processors,
I have a
because
Vitamix.
like the blending of it,
Yeah.
how it pulls in the air, that's what helps thicken it up.
Oh,
Because
okay.
I've tried it with like Magic Bullets, or what's the other super popular
Ninja,
blender? Ninja, but that other one,
the Vitamix.
Vitamix. Okay,
Yeah,
I've
see,
tried it
that's what
with the
I used and
Vitamix
it
before.
worked.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Okay.
Maybe with the other blenders, but it's just like some of the other blenders, they just kind of like go really quick, and it's
Okay.
not really sucking the air down and changing it. So one of the keys to having like an Unreal Frosty is use a good food processor,
All right.
and then adding that xanthan gum, or there's the other one too, gar gum. It also
Yes.
works. You don't want to add too much because it can upset your stomach a bit. And then also with your protein powder, if you go for like a casein blend, it should help thicken it up
Okay.
better than like an isolate.
Yeah. Okay. So I just learned stuff. Like I do have a food processor. I'm going to try that next. And I'll let you know if it's a game
Yeah,
changer.
Amazon has a whole bunch of good ones.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. I have, if anyone's curious, I have a Cuisinart 13 cup. I got that one because I could also do like for prepping, like say if I did a bunch of sweet potatoes, I had like the dicer, it had a
Yeah.
spiralizer, it had all the things. But
Yeah.
that's awesome. So Don, you mentioned before our podcast that you were going to give our listeners a free ebook of how to lose weight without starving yourself, essentially.
100%.
And how
Yes.
can they get that?
Yeah, if you guys want a copy of our How to Burn Fat Effortlessly Without Starving,
Mhm.
shoot us a message on Instagram. Our Instagram handle is DIY Body, DIYBODY. Shoot us a message and just write ebook, DM us ebook, and we will go ahead and we will send you a link to our free ebook.
No, that's awesome. And where else can they find you? Are you on Facebook, website?
Yeah, so if you want to find me on Facebook, it's Don Lam. You can also look up DIY Body if you want to hit up our business page, and then on Instagram, you can also look up DIY Body as the Instagram, and then my own personal Instagram is Don Carter Fit.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to have everything linked below. If you're listening to this on the blog post, that'll be probably months down the road. Same thing. I'll link everything in the notes there. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast today, Don.
Thanks for having me. It was awesome coming on here and just chatting about this stuff and catching up.
Yeah, it was great. Okay, thanks.
Thanks.